This week on DUTV, we're in Eastern Ontario hunting with John Cristinziani of Magnum Outfitters.
What I love about waterfowl hunting is that it's a family sport. It's a social sport. It brings people together and allows us to spend time in the field. Very, very different than deer hunting or moose hunting, where it's a very individual sport.
Well, conservation for me is the core of my essence. It's what I do. It's what I believe in. It's why I work for Ducks Unlimited.
You know, a lot of people have asked me over time, why do I love duck hunting more than I love the others? And for me, it's like the dance. You're calling to try and see if they'll come dance with you.
We're a bunch of determined individuals and we push for wetland conservation. It is our passion.
Get 'em. Well done!
Right. To see them cut and dip and weave.
But seeing those ducks decoy and seeing that acrobatic moves in the air is something I never get tired of.
It was like the epitome of puddle duck hunting.
To watch the birds work is the real objective of the hunt.
Ducks Unlimited Television is presented by Drake Waterfowl Systems, innovators in waterfowl hunting.
Welcome to Ducks Unlimited Television. I'm Betsy Newell. Anytime is a great time when Fred Zink is hunting ducks and geese with an old friend. In this episode, Fred teams up with veteran waterfowler and conservationist John Cristinziani in Ontario, Canada. Their shared passion for waterfowl hunting and wetlands conservation is second to none. All next on DUTV.
John and his group have been big supporters of Ducks Unlimited for many years and ran a very, very successful chapter in Quebec. So I met John Cristinziani approximately about 20 years ago. Kind of shows us our age, and we've been friends ever since. He was into hunting, family man, and we just simply became close friends really quick. And through the past 20 years, we've hunted many, many times together. I've traveled up here and hunted with John all over this area and region of Ontario and Quebec. So like many hunts, we end up on a dairy farm that John had secured permission for. Typical cut silage field. So how do you hide? So when you find yourself in a silage field, you have zero cover basically. So you typically have to edge hunt them or hunt in standing corn. We always like the standing corn option as possible. What we're going to be looking for is not only a good flight of Canada geese coming into a field, that's number one, but number two, we're looking to see if we can hide and the wind direction to see how that hide works. Most waterfowlers overlook that part. In my opinion, after you find the field, the next thing I'm looking for is where we're going to hide.
I'm very fond of this area because of the sheer number of waterfowl that is in this vicinity. We've been hunting this area for close to 40 years, and it's very dear to my heart. We've got to know the area and a lot of the farmers and good folks that allow us to share the rights to hunt some of their properties. What I like about chasing ducks and geese is just a challenge. It's every day is different in the field. You can never expect anything. We hunt fields that have been scouted, that have literally thousands of birds in it. We can go in there the next day and surprise, they don't do it at all. So it's just a great challenge. It's a lot of fun, and outsmarting these birds is what we live for. Well, that worked.
Ducks Unlimited Television is presented by Drake Waterfowl Systems, innovators in waterfowl hunting. Mossy Oak Shadow Grass Habitat, the official camo of Ducks Unlimited. Browning Firearms, the best there is. native nurseries, hand-selected, hand-grown plants for wildlife. Higdon Outdoors. Quality, customer service, innovation, that's Higdon. And Ducks Unlimited's 85th anniversary, celebrating 85 years as North America's leader in wetlands conservation.
In my opinion, hunters are the best conservationists. Whenever we get challenged as to why we hunt, we always go back and reply, well, what have you done with your conservation dollars to help wildlife or restoration or conservation? So to us, it's again an integral part of being able to put back something that we're taking out of the sport, and it's a way of trying to maintain it so it survives for future generations.
So this area for production of green-winged teal, blue-winged teal, Canada geese especially, and mallards is vital for the East Coast hunting all the way down to the North Carolina, South Carolina. A lot of those birds are nested primarily here in Eastern Prairie, Canada. Ducks Unlimited is working with ag agencies and local farmers to revert those crucial wetlands for breeding and habitat back into productive wetlands. And putting this in perspective, you got to think about how many DU members there are. Approximately around 600,000 in the United States, and approximately about 60,000 here in Canada. So it's about a 10-to-1 ratio. But the money raised in the United States, a big portion of that comes up here because this is such a vital area for production of waterfowl that we understand that creating wetlands and preserving those wetlands preserves waterfowl hunting and waterfowl for the future. And you'll not find a bigger volunteer group for conservation than hunters. So right here in Ontario, just in this area, you're talking about, when you go north, you're talking about a lot of bushland. So basically mid to central southern Ontario is where 1 million acres have been restored. Those include wetlands, grasslands, and forest lands. And why are those so important? Certain waterfowl, such as blue-winged teal, wood ducks, prefer woodland wetlands. But when you get into pintails, mallards, they prefer grasslands. And the wetlands are something that comes along later. After the ducks nest in the grasslands around the wetland, then as the ducklings grow up, they walk down with mom and dad down to the water. And the majority of food that they eat, a small duckling, in the first probably until it comes time to migrate, is the invertebrates that grow, basically insects that grow in those grasslands, and they find that food source primarily in the edges of wetlands right here in Ontario. We had the opportunity to hunt 2 days with Mark Glotney. The passion that he had for that area, he had a lot of involvement there in that area, and he just started talking about all these different things that was going on in this area. It was a guy that lived it. He had a great amount of appreciation and was very proud of that project and what it has done for the area here in Ontario and for the duck population and Canada goose population here in the area.
So projects like Atticus Bay and all the projects we have along the Ottawa River are important because we've lost a lot of wetlands and grasslands in this area over the last couple of 100 years. So the work that we do to protect those habitats that still remain and restore those habitats that have been degraded are really important in helping improve and grow our duck populations, as well as many other species that benefit from wetlands and grasslands. In addition to that, we've instituted a rotational grazing approach, which allows for good production of grass, which are good for the cattle. So, this project is a great example of taking a piece of ground that wasn't very productive and wasn't very useful from a cattle production perspective, increasing the benefits to the landowner and still producing all those benefits for ducks and other species that happen as a result of the project.
Way back in 1937, Ducks Unlimited's founders knew Canada was the place to begin. when restoring and revitalizing North America's wetlands habitat. If duck and goose populations were going to rebound, the work had to begin on Canada's vast breeding grounds. Today, DU Canada continues their incredible work in every province, providing vital habitat that equals more ducks and geese flying south every fall. Ontario is a prime example of how DU Canada has restored and built critical breeding habitat within the province. To date, more than 2,000 Ontario habitat conservation projects have been completed, conserving over 1 million acres of wetlands and adjacent forest and grassland landscapes. Many duck and goose breeding pairs use these projects for nesting every spring, and the number of pairs continues to grow. One of Ontario's unique projects is Atticus Bay, located near Ottawa. Over 80% of the area's wetlands had been lost through land clearing for agriculture. In 2001, DU Canada partnered with the Ontario Ministry of Natural Resources, the Canadian Wildlife Service, U.S. Fish and Wildlife, DU Incorporated, and the state of Alabama to restore Atticus Bay back to its original form. This project exemplifies the collaborative nature of North American waterfowl management plan initiatives. For a state as far away as Alabama to invest in Canada's wetlands resources is a testament to the power of DU's partnerships in action. To learn more about Atticus Bay and other DU Inc. and DU Canada programs, please visit ducks.org.
DU Insights is brought to you by Mossy Oak Properties. Find your favorite place at mossyoakproperties.com.
So areas just like Atticus Bay are so vital, not only for nesting, which is obviously we got to produce them to create these huntable populations and to preserve the population for the future. So that's as important as it gets.
Well, conservation for me is the core of my essence. It's what I do, it's what I believe in, it's why I work for Ducks Unlimited. Making a difference on the landscape is so important with so many different pressures coming. And I want to make sure that I leave a legacy for the next 7 generations. Hunters have long been the conservationists that have been carrying the load to do the restoration of habitat on the landscape. So it's really important for us to make sure that we're recruiting those folks because they put their money where their mouth is and invest in the habitat that they care so deeply about. So Atticus Bay is a shining example of conservation and agriculture working together. The cows on the landscape are really important because they graze the grass and they stop the shrubs from growing up and they stop the trees from growing up. We help retain that grass by using a rotational grazing system where the cows come into a pasture, they'll graze there 2 or 3 times a year and move around the landscape.
So we all know that Canada is the duck factory of ducks, and if it wasn't for dollars that the EU has spent on the ground here, there would be a significant impact on certain population and certain species. So, I mean, hats off to Ducks Unlimited for all the efforts and all the success that they've had in Canada.
John and I have been friends for so long and we're so close. We're always getting back and forth on each other. And on day 1, we shot a couple cripples, and for a professional guide of his quality, probably should have done a little bit better than what he did. So for 2 days, I was giving it to him, and we had the opportunity this morning, and here comes the signal. I go, hey Johnny, you're up. And Johnny is number 1, he's a hell of a hunter, but he's a really good shot as well. He takes a lot of pride in that. He can come right in the hole and he empties his gun and never touches the goose.
Every hunter or outdoor adventurer takes pride in their vehicle. SUV, pickup. You have something special that you love to travel with and have adventures. We all know also that these vehicles are not going to perform to their capabilities unless you have the right fuel that you put in them, whether it's the octane in your gasoline or the quality of the diesel. That's what fuels the vehicle. The same is true for your sporting dog. What is the octane level? What is the fuel that you're putting in your dog? Is it right? Is it appropriate for your needs? Let's take a look. Wild Rose exclusively recommends and uses Purina Pro Plan 30-20 at all life stages performance formula. 30% protein, 20% fat. That's high octane. Fat is energy, and energy to burn for endurance and to provide body warmth in cold conditions. Protein and fat in proper balance is vital, but that's only 50% of the content. So what else is in there? Some very important things. Note the first ingredient listed on the bag. The first listed is the #1 ingredient by weight in the bag. In this case, it's real meat. Also, we have glucosamine and omega-3 fatty acids to promote joint health, with omega-6 acids and vitamin A for healthy coats. This gives us an oily coat to shed water. Now select the right food for your dog's special needs. Is it growth and reproduction? Is it adult and maintenance to maintain body weight? We want to select a product like Purina Pro Plan that conducts actual testing on live animals. Some companies do not. When selecting the best food for your dog, there's a lot to know. You have to look at his lifestyle and you have to match the product. But with a little research, you can increase that dog's performance and longevity.
Duck Dog with Mike Stewart is presented by Purina Pro Plan, nutrition that performs. DUTV is powered by Browning Ammunition, the best there is. Biologic, scientifically proven wildlife products. Purina Pro Plan, nutrition that performs. Tetra Hearing, more than hearing protection, it's hearing perfection. Mossy Oak Properties, America's land specialist. Zink Calls, a champion in every call. Closed captioning for Ducks Unlimited Television is brought to you by Mossy Oak Bottomland, the official timber pattern of Ducks Unlimited.
So we had 11 geese and we need one more goose. And we looked up and here comes 3 geese at us. And I said, Johnny, you're up. Pressure's on, buddy. Of course, he picked it up and he made a really good shot, but that's what hunting is about. It's what family is about.
Tag your bag.
So this morning we have a tremendous amount of geese coming here, and this field is so long and they have so many opportunities to land all over the field that we'll have to power call them. That's what we did this morning. So when the geese are way away, we're going to make a lot of goose sounds. We're going to be high pitched and very directional. A goose call is very directional. You think if you're blowing here, they can hear everywhere. Now this thing is like a rifle. You have to point it right to them. So let's do a little loud calling. This is what it's going to sound like. All we're trying to sound like is a lot of geese on the ground with geese going into them. That's when geese are most vocal on the ground. It sounds something like this. So a loud calling, and when we break the geese to us, when they hear that and start coming to us, and then we start sounding like geese on the ground. And that's when team calling, working with a guy that can blow a goose call as good as John, I'll back him up or he can back me up. So I'll let John kind of lead, and you don't want to call over each other. You want to complement what your other guy is doing in the blind. So I'll just follow John's lead. See at the end when he clucks, I cluck, back and forth. Geese have a lot of rhythm. Whether you're out listening to them in the field, on a pond or whatever, one clucks, the other one clucks, back and forth. So having that natural rhythm versus having a human rhythm to where you're just going crazy and you're making all these different sounds, actually try to sound like geese on the ground, you'll be more successful.
Duck Talk with Fred Zink, powered by Zink Calls, a champion in every call.
When I look forward to the future, it's a pretty exciting time we're living in. I think the big excitement is this growing awareness of the importance of the environment and how wetlands and grasslands are a critical part of that system. And I see sort of Ducks Unlimited continuing to evolve and grow.
As an outfitter, we rely on conservation to kind of help the sport survive. You know, we need to do our part to put back into the sport that we enjoy. And conservation is just a huge part of that element.
These guys, it's the reason why I come to Canada. The Canadian people, they're salt of the earth people, they're hard workers, and when you get a group of Canadian hunters together, it's a lot of laughs, but there's a passion about it as well. You can tell it's, you know, a man in general, humans, but a man in general are hunters and gatherers. And the closer you get to country folks, you see that. It's not something that they learn. It's something they perfect, but it's something that's in their blood. It's who they are, it's who we are. And I think in a lot of urban areas, cities, a lot of that is taken out. It's educated out, but it's in us all. And to see George and Brian and John spend the time up here, it's instilled in my memories and in my thought process. Every time I meet new people and I see the passion in their eyes, like I've seen it 1,000 times, I can't wait to see it 1,000 more times.
Long ago, international cooperation was the only way forward in North America's migratory bird conservation. Shoulder to shoulder with Ducks Unlimited Canada, DU will continue to restore and conserve wetlands habitat benefiting waterfowl, wildlife, and people. With much gratitude to host John Cristinziani and Magnum Hunts, that's all for now. Thanks for watching and see you next time on DUTV.
What the heck? Did you see that? Yes! We got that on video.